Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee and frequent guest hosts Hollis Lewis and Lisa Odie, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join the crew as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of the sports life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee, and this is a rare day that me and Hollis Lewis are the two gentlemen in the building.
Yep.
And Miss Odie, she's not here today. She's out of town, and deserving so. Hollis.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start with the whole soccer thing. Mm-hmm. It has caught my attention because of, I don't know, the athleticism that I see, the endurance that I see. But I'll wait on your comment, and then I'm going to come back with one of my negatives about it. But go ahead.
No, I think it's one of them things that, like, it's definitely like if you grew up in a time where we grew up, it was, it was football, basketball, baseball,
right,
track, and even tennis you could probably throw in there. So we didn't grow up watching soccer, didn't grow up playing soccer, and none of that. But I think to see it up close and personal, I went to, a couple West Virginia State women's soccer games, a couple UC men's soccer games, and it's just elite athleticism. Like these guys are not, maybe what we used to make fun of back in the day.
Right.
They ain't them guys. When you talk about the footwork and, like I said, the speed and agility to being able to pick the ball out of the air, these are legit, athletes.
And you can look at them and you can see them kind of like at different times they're walking. So you can kind of make it. If you look at that and you try to judge that and say, okay, well, yeah, you don't have to really be in great shape to do it. But the amount of time that they're out there and the number of up and down the field and the field, I'm thinking if I'm correct, is just a little bit over a football field.
I believe so.
Yeah, just a little bit over a football field. So imagine going up and down the football field. What?
Yeah.
50 times?
Yeah. Nah, it's probably more than that. It's like basketball. Like they keep those sort of similar stats as far as possession, shots, and different things of that nature. So it's a good game once you give it a chance.
What is the draw to you from you to watch it? What what catches your attention?
My kids played soccer, but also I would say, it started there because I actually had to sit down and watch it. So after watching it, you can just see the skills. I think for me, I enjoy probably even more than just the shots, just the dribbling in between with your feet. Right. So as they maneuvering traffic, maneuvering, one that we just seen a headshot right there.
Yeah.
Maneuvering between defenders and the pass, and once you get the bird's eye view, it's very similar to basketball, to how they're cutting and sitting up plays and different things of that nature. So yeah,
it's when I know for me when I watch it, for a long time, all I could see was people running around, and then you couldn't really see, quote, maybe a plan.
Yeah.
And I think if you haven't sit and really kind of watch it and see the thought processes of what's really taking place, you might not be able to enjoy it. But I think once you realize what's taking place and what these guys are trying to do, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think now, if I were to go back and the question would be, would I play it? I don't know if I would. I can't really even say necessarily why I wouldn't. But if you had a choice with that versus football, what would you pick?
I would definitely pick football, but I would.
You would want to play it?
Yeah, as long as it's not conflicting with football, I would definitely give it a shot. And again, that's the good thing about soccer is that, like basketball, particularly at the youth level, you'll have, multiple seasons. So there's a fall, spring, summer, winter. So I would have definitely liked to play. I only knew really, I ain't gonna say only knew, but I knew a couple football players, like, for example, Ryan Switzer, when he was young, he played soccer. Guy I played with in high school, Rick Sales, he played soccer, and they were both pretty good athletes, had all really good feet work and different things of that nature. So I think it's definitely some transferable skills to other sports.
All right. Well, I know you had a couple of topics that you had talked about on the phone earlier, so you might let's roll with some of those. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
For sure.
Yeah.
We have a few Marshall University athletes, and they are suing the NCAA to play an additional year. So they have completed their 4 years of eligibility, and they want an extra year. So what happened was this past, I think within the last couple of months or whatever, the NCAA passed what's known as like a 5-for-5. So you get 5 seasons to play 5. So you get 5 years to play 5 seasons. So they have eliminated like the red shirt, the gray shirt, and even some medical exemptions, although there are some exceptions within that. So essentially what happens now is that you get 5 years to play 5 seasons. So essentially you can play 5 years in collegiate sports. However, the rule, I don't believe the rule was retroactive. So, for example, those students who graduated in 2022, it's 2026. So if you completed that 4 years of eligibility, then you're technically, quote unquote, done. Well, they're arguing that, essentially, I guess they're arguing that it should be retroactive and that they should have one more year. So they should technically be done in 2027. So that's the lawsuit.
All right. I got two questions. I don't know if you can actually answer them, but you could maybe have a side on it. At one point in time, we were talking about, a 4-year college, and you could do 5 years and still, but you could only play 4 years.
Yeah, you had the red shirt, and then you have the
where does the academics play in that role? How do you? What if I'm not? Maybe I haven't completed my school.
Okay, which standpoint are you talking about? Because you could argue this. You can argue
on
the
both
academic
sides.
part, both sides.
Yeah.
So you could argue that, hey, I need, the 5 years will give me extra time to complete my undergrad, or you could say I could possibly complete an undergrad and a graduate degree within that time. So it could work out either way, right?
Yes. Okay. What is your thought process on 5 years with no injury or anything? Just a straight, like I'm going to play 4. Now I'm going to ask for 5. Like, can I play 5?
Well, I think
should it be?
I think so. I don't. I mean, because for example, if you're essentially playing till you're 23. So if you come in at 17, 18, you'll play till you're 23. Let's say, right? So you get that extra year, and I think that you kind of already getting it anyway if you had a red shirt, although you're not competing. And I think the thought process is to try to eliminate like all the transfer and just eliminate people getting around the rules. Cause it was some kids who were staying in college for like 7-8 years. You know what I mean? So they're trying to condense it. And that way it don't matter if you move, your clock starts. If you in JUCO, your clock starts. So if you spend that 2 years in JUCO, that means you're only going to have so much time once you get to, where you're going.
But I don't think that you should get any more than the total 4.
You think it should be limited to 4?
To me, I can't see. Okay, because here's my issue. I'm coming into college, coming straight out of high school. Mm-hmm. You're getting ready to be in your 5th year. And let's say there might be 6 or 7 players that are getting ready to be in their 5th year. And if even possible, if they can squeeze in a 6th, like, how does that?
I guess the thought process is like, well, heck, you're already there 5 years anyway. Like, so if you take the red shirt, you're going to be here 5 years anyway.
I don't think that should make you eligible to be that, because just because it's going to take you 5 years, because it took me more than 5 to get mine. So do I get 6?
I'm not. Well, we ain't talking about necessarily we're not talking about academics here. We're talking about just playing. So you don't think they should have 5 years on the field?
No. I mean, it's okay. So how does that play for your draft? Okay, so like let's say if you're trying to get, you're a football player, you're not going to go in the draft on the year that you're supposed to, and then you're going to wait and try to go the following year. And could there be better quarterbacks? Could there be better DBs in that next class? I mean, all of those kind of things could be an issue to me. I just don't like the idea of the age, the maturity piece of the athlete that is playing in his fifth year versus a freshman or even a sophomore. I just don't.
I understand that part. I mean, I get that, but I guess what's happening now is like, again, you got some people who been in college 6-7 years. So it's like that you don't want that either. You don't want somebody who took a red shirt, then played 3 years, then had a medical red shirt, then played another 2 years. Now they're in a 6 or 7 year college. So this condenses all that to say, hey, you got really some exception. You only got this much time.
But this much time is academic. It should not be.
We not talk. Academics are out the window.
Well,
we don't care about that. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, I do agree with you. I do agree with you. But like for all these times, all this pressure that I can remember about being, you got to be academically eligible. You got to be this. You got to take these classes.
Ain't nobody said anything. Yeah.
And
we ain't heard a kid being dismissed from a team for academics in years. And you got to look at it from the kid's perspective. Like, I can earn. So I got 5 years to earn. So even if I'm not quite a pro player, I'm just a good college player, maybe I can earn money for that entire 5 years. So that gives me an extra year, not only just to play, but to earn. And it gives, maybe it's some incentive for, to stay around the program a little bit longer if I know I have this finite time to only do it. So I don't, it's sort of a wash to me. It's not necessarily a good thing, not a bad thing. It just, like I said, it's like trying to wrangle it in.
For you, you're like, okay, whatever y'all decide is going to be okay.
It is what it is. I think, like I said, I think it could just be a pathway to like know that, I can't. All that moving I was doing, that may end up hurting me because I don't have time to do that. Like, I'm not going to get a graduate. I don't think you can get like a graduate transfer. If I get injured, that hurts. If I don't get a red shirt. So maybe the incentive is like, hey, I'm going to just stay around WVU for as long as possible instead of just hopping up and leaving,
I don't know, man. I just feel like, to be honest, I feel like we're doing too much. I think and again, I'm self-appointed old school. I just really think that I don't think that there's a need for any additional time to play in college. And to play in college. Now, what you do academically, be there 10 years. I don't care. But I just don't see the athletic side of it. I don't see how you can get past any more than 4 years, maybe a fifth year if you didn't play a season. I just don't see. And again, I understand especially if you're trying to get to the league and you maybe need an extra year or thinking that you need the extra year. I'll say it this way, which sounds terrible. Nobody gave me an extra year. And I know that sounds bad, but like, I don't feel like it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's financial repercussions. It's a pathway. For example, if you did graduate college in 3 years, you can like stay the extra 2, still play, get it paid for. You can get your master's degree in that time. So I think it's just a net positive, like I said, and you can earn. So it's an extra year to earn NIL. So I like I said, I just, I don't think it's a bad thing. And like I said, I think on the other end, it's one of the situations where, heck, we'd rather have you stay 5 than 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. We got some Marshall stuff you got for us?
Yeah, that was the Marshall.
That was the Marshall.
Yeah, we got. We talking about, like, I know we haven't really been talking about it, but there's a ton of movement going. We talk about movement is transferring. Far as trades in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he got traded from Milwaukee to Miami. Jalen Brown got traded from the Celtics to the 76ers. And we got LeBron James out there. Now again, LeBron, he just said he's not going to re-sign or he hasn't re-signed with the Lakers. Not meaning he won't, but I think he's out there fishing to see where he's going to go. There's been rumors that he might team up with Jalen Brown in Philly. He might go to Golden State, may go back to Cleveland. Like I said, the NBA is doing a good job of keeping themselves in the headline with all this movement and trading. So what do you think about just the when we talk about movement? I mean, these are established players. These are players who won championships.
Yes.
The Greek Freak won a championship in Milwaukee. Now he's out. Jalen Brown won a championship in Boston. Now he's out. And obviously LeBron. So these aren't like minimal moves. These are big moves.
Do you think this is a question? Do you think it is the opportunity to go to another place with the thought process of winning another championship?
Are you talking about for LeBron?
Yeah, no, for anybody.
For anybody?
Yeah, because think about it. When you start talking about winning championships, it sounds good. You won 2 at LA, but it's different to me. If you won 2 in L.A., you won 1 in Cleveland, you won, just wherever. You have that in your resume. I think that's the draw. Because I can't figure out, because some of these guys are not necessarily, these are not top teams. They're not the top team that some of the guys are going to, I don't think.
I don't think any of them were like,
So I'm going to a team that I'm going to be the guy on that may not take us to a championship, that may not get me to a championship. What am I going there for?
Well, I think, like, in the case of Giannis, I think he wanted to get out of Milwaukee. And I don't know if that's lifestyle. When we talk about Miami Heat, they haven't been that good for a little bit now. But they do have a championship culture. They won championships in the last 10, 15 years. So they have a championship, quote-unquote, culture. So maybe that's what it is. Jalen Brown, he has an interesting story because he had probably one of the best seasons. He was an all-NBA guy. He had one of the best seasons last year. Took a depleted team to the playoffs. And he was just arbitrarily traded by the Celtics. There's been a lot of rumors like, well, maybe he's too smart for the room. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that. Maybe, there's been a lot of narrative spun around him. As far as LeBron, I mean, it's one of them cases with LeBron, like, man, do you ride off into the sunset? Do you want to have kind of that one, to your point, do you want to have just one championship run before you say hang it up? Or is it just maybe a case you just have trouble letting go? Because, I mean, LeBron, does he have anything left to prove? As much as you may like him or dislike him, does he have anything to prove?
I don't think so. I think he's going to go down as one of the best players to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And durability and all those kinds of things. He's going to have all that. You got to
factor that in.
Yeah, you have to.
He's a scoring champ. Leader.
All that.
Championships, all the records and stats and playoffs and this and that.
He could walk out into the sunset and be celebrated forever. The worst thing my thing is, what you don't always know when that body is going to just shut down on you.
Oh, yeah.
You're out there, and all of a sudden, in your head, you're like good, and then all of a sudden, you realize, oh, you can't make that play. And you're going to downplay it first, and before you know it, there's plays you can't make that you used to could do easily. And now all of a sudden, you're stuck because you're playing.
Saying, like, don't go out like.
No, don't go. Why not go out on the top? And that don't have to be a championship. That just has to be
like
you.
Physically on top.
Yeah, you physically right now have been talked about as being one of the best players ever to play in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You could go out on that without any average season. You don't have to have an average season.
So let's just hypothetically, he goes somewhere else. He goes to 76. He goes anywhere else. He has a subpar season. He has just an average LeBron season, let's say. Do you think just him going from that many teams, do you think that hurts his legacy ultimately?
I do. I think if you keep jumping team to team and you build that team up, whether you win a championship or not, you build that team up, you get all that credit. But all of a sudden, when you get to a team and you don't build that team up, it doesn't really move. You now become, because can you imagine him on a team that's not being successful and him doing all the things that he does now? Everybody ain't going to like that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because, people already have issues with LeBron. And again, those aren't the only three big names I want to mention. Ja Morant, he went from the Grizzlies to Portland. Paul George, he went from 76ers to Boston in that trade with Jalen Brown. Julius Randle also got traded. The biggest one, though, that I was shocked by was LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is a young player. He played for Charlotte, and they made the playoffs this year. They tend to be ascending in the right direction, and he gets traded to, I think it shocked everybody, to Minnesota. And I just don't know how him and the Ant-Man are I don't know how those two play together. Basically, you got two I would say ball dominant guards, one or two. I guess they could flip flop either one. And I just don't know how that's going to work. It just don't seem like it's enough balls around. And the thing is when you have, and I'll ask you this, when you have and this is just general, but when you have a young superstar, when you got a young kid superstar, he's flamboyant, and I would say, I don't know if LaMelo Ball, if he plays basketball, he just hoop.
Right.
He just he hoop very effectively, but it looks like he hoops. What signs are there when things, I guess from a back office perspective, what signs are there to say, hey, this kid, he looks like he's all right, but we may want to go another direction now, when everything seems from the outside looking in seems to be dang, they're coming up.
Well, see, I'm thinking, that the whole reasoning behind that was, and I'll use a Viking scenario, you bringing in, us bringing in Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
There's a thought process that this is going to be the change. This is the final piece to us actually getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. I'm thinking this is the same kind of risk that you're taking, and you're putting this on this particular player. And I don't think that has been overly successful in anywhere. When you start talking about letting players go and bringing in a single guy, and he's going to be the guy. Now, think about it. If they bring you, I'm a quarterback, and they bring you in, and I'm thinking I'm doing okay. Ain't nobody sit me down. Ain't nobody really come at me. But all of a sudden, they either draft you first round or they bring you in from another team and give 4 or 5 players that were playing. They're not going to give 4 or 5 players to somebody else and you not play.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think it's a hard thing to do and keep the unity of the team.
Yeah.
I think it's if you can do that, man, I think it's a huge asset, but I don't know if anybody has ever done a trade like that who have sent great players away and ended up having a super successful season with whomever they bring in.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things. I mean, he averaged 20 points. LaMelo Ball averaged 20 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 7 assists a game. So I guess what I'm just wondering, what are they seeing that says okay, he can't grow, he can't get better, so we might as well cut our losses now. When you take a team like that who has been bad for a while, you take them to the playoffs, you have a with basically a darn near all-pro season as far as statistics is concerned. And it's just maybe is it that intangible? Is that leadership? Is it, what is it that says like, okay, well, we're just going to get rid of this young 20-something superstar and just let him go?
Well, it's the same thing. Like, when did you all sit down and have a conversation and say we want to let 6, 7, 8 guys go and bring in Herschel Walker? Like, what was
you know what I'm saying? Herschel Walker.
No, I'll never let it go. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what motivates that conversation?
Yeah.
Like, what makes you and how does everybody agree to it?
Maybe. I don't know, man. That's a good question. I'm sure there have to be somebody in the room saying, I don't know about this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe somebody who ain't got no clout.
And in this situation that you're talking about, again, who's in the room saying, let's do this? This makes perfectly good sense. I think we come out on the winning end on this. Do you? And then the final one is Kawhi Leonard. He goes from the Clippers to back to Toronto. So we'll see how that works out. He won a championship with Toronto some years back. So we'll see how this works out. But, like I said, the NBA, they're definitely trying to compete with the NFL when it comes to offseason with all these trades and drafts and all these sort of things like that. They're trying to keep themselves in the news, which seems like they're doing a pretty good job. Do you think the money in the trades and all of those types of things that's taking place now, do you think for the player it's okay? Like, it doesn't bother them? Like, they're not upset?
I guess it would depend. I mean, for example, like I said, as far as like, if you take a Giannis Antetokounmpo, if you take him, he appears that he wanted to be out of there. He was done with there, so he wanted to go. But conversely, if you take somebody like LaMelo Ball, who I thought, and I would say maybe I'm not the only person who thinks like this, he appeared to be the face of that franchise. Right, I went to a Charlotte game this past year. He appeared to be like, okay, the guy. We're putting our money on him. He's going to be like the face that we have moving forward. And I would imagine that he would feel some type of way. And in addition, and you take somebody like Ja Morant, who had it all. He was that emerged. He was definitely the face of their franchise. Mm-hmm. He was an emerging, like, almost face of the league, and then he gets in all this little silly trouble that he constantly gets into. So maybe they didn't have a choice but to sit him out. And I'm sure there's an understanding, at least if he's mature enough to get it, that there's an understanding of his portion, like, dang, I did do all this messing up, so they was probably justified. So I think it depends on your perspective and your position you probably had prior to anything. I don't know if again, money's always money. Yeah. But I think when you're playing at that level with those guys, I mean, 20 million, 10 million, 50 million.
Yeah, it really don't make any difference.
It's coming either way. You know what I mean?
And I would think that if you're in those kinds of situations, and I can remember when I first heard that, like, I might be in the Herschel Walker conversation. It was the worst feeling, not even about him, but like that you're gonna trade me, you're gonna let me go, And
now, was that prior to free agency, or that was after free agency? Because it was a portion of your career you played, like, really wasn't no free agency.
Yeah, yes, you couldn't. Yeah, there was no free agency at that point in time.
So it was like you were more tied to the organization.
Yes, if you had a contract, you were there. No. And unless they wanted to do something.
So I would imagine it's kind of like a different mind state maybe than players have today. Maybe they understand, like, hey, I play for this team, that team.
I don't think I think it's not. I'm not loyal to anybody necessarily if it's going to get me what I want. Some of that might be for some players that might be money.
Yeah.
Some players that might be a championship. You look at somebody like a Steph Curry. He ain't gonna go nowhere just for the money.
Yep, yeah, that's a good.
He wants to go somewhere where he thinks he can win.
Yeah, and I doubt he'll ever leave Golden State.
I could not imagine.
Yeah, I would like to see him just finish on out.
I would too. And there was some conversation. What would you think about LeBron going there, I think that changes the whole dynamic of that whole team.
Yeah, and I just don't. I mean, I just don't like that, man. It's like one of those moves where it's like, you know, they've been competing against each other, whether it's like when LeBron was in the East, they're competing for championships against each other. They're competing for position when LeBron went to the Western Conference, that is. So it's like, man, just stay rivals. Like, everybody don't got to partner up. You know what I mean? I think that's like I know it maybe sound cliche, but I like some guys just being rivals of one another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I can be your buddy in the off season, but I don't want to play with you.
Yeah, it's like Patrick Ewing and like Michael Jordan playing with one another. Come on, man. Y'all say that for the Olympics. Y'all can do that during the Olympics.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just stay competing.
And I think that what they're gonna do if they continue into that structure, I think they're gonna lose the fan base. Yeah. You know, and I think if anybody has a fan base, it is basketball.
I mean, the basketball's kind of been teetering. I think what happened, it came back this year, and I think Victor Wembanyama, I think he was a major part of it because he has that old school mentality. You know, Jalen Brunson, them boys in New York, they had that old school mentality where we're going to war with each other and against you.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
And I feel like that there seems to be, to me, just a new life.
Yeah,
in the NBA,
yeah, for sure.
I don't feel that in the NFL.
You don't?
I don't.
I don't know, man. We got to see, man. I mean, I think again, we could definitely talk about this. I know this is something we touched on last week. I just think stuff like, and again, this is not. We're not attributing it to him specifically, but I think the story with Chris Johnson last week. Mm-hmm. That stuff hurts because people are seeing like the ramifications. Yeah. And now not only are we seeing the ramifications, but we're seeing the direct correlation, right? Yeah. You're seeing sort of the research behind these things. And I think the NFL it's one of those things where you have to address it in a real way. Last week you brought up CTE. And ALS and how they are not tied to one another, but they are directly tied to NFL players. And we talked about soccer earlier and different things of that nature. And I think them type of stories, they don't help.
No. And I'll say this. The NFL they were so late in even trying to even make a case that we're going to even try to help you.
Yeah.
There were so many guys. I saw some of the older guys when I was in the league and was young and just running around, just meeting these guys. And now, some of those guys, some of them have passed, but, some of them are struggling mentally. When did you first realize that this type of contact is a problem? Yeah. And when were you going to tell us? You're waiting until all of a sudden this massive group of former players or players all of a sudden are having memory issues, and now you want to say, "Oh, okay, go get your test. We'll pay for you to go get your test." What about telling us about what the risks were? And when you had those head injuries, and I won't call them injuries, when you had what we call you get your bell rung, yeah. When you get your bell rung, maybe you can't come back in 2 or 3 plays. Maybe you don't even need to be back in the game the rest of that game, no matter what it is.
I know that's something they're trying to do a better job of now. And speaking of that, because it made me think, like, I think a lot of what happened to like a lot of former football players, because you always see like kind of the violence and different things, mm-hmm. like kind of post career, maybe even like mm-hmm. towards the end of their career. I think a lot of that probably could be explained because of that trauma. And I know we talked earlier, and one of the things that I said is that should there be a cap on NFL players? Should there be like, okay, similar to like what they're doing in college, you only got 10 or 12 years to play, and then after that you max out and you have to stop playing at X year. Do you think something like that should be considered?
I think I think so. But what I'll add to that is there needs to be a checkup. There needs to be a yearly checkup for players to test. Is there any damage to your memory already taking effect? Something just
they doing something like that, right?
I don't know if it's current players that are playing. I don't know that.
I thought they doing some sort of cognitive test.
But I think that if that's the case, then you're going to know, because you might get, there's a ton of players who've got 12 years in and are okay right now. But a guy like a Joey Browner, who's a huge physical specimen and was hitting people like crazy, and he's gone now, and there's a number of players and a number of situations where guys find themselves in that situation, and I don't know if there's what is the result of the help that you're getting. Like, where's the help coming from? Letting you know that it isn't help. To me, you got to do something more. I don't know yet, what all that is, and that's unfortunate.
So are you saying maybe if there was some sort of test? NFL players must take cognitive tests and brain evaluations during training camp, known as baseline testing, and whenever they show signs of a concussion during a game. It's before the season starts. Obviously, when they take a player cannot return to the sport until their mental test scores return. But again, that's not necessarily, I think, what you're talking about. What you're talking about is like a more holistic test to say, hey, is your brain damaged enough where you need to stop playing at this point?
Right. Because if you're just going to test it to see,
if you can play the next game.
Yeah, if you can play the next game, okay, well, yeah, it might be okay today. But where is it?
I think these are more like concussion protocols.
Yes.
And it said the CTs found in nearly 92% of NFL players studied by Boston. Jesus.
I don't know a player who I have talked to who played when I played who has not said to me that they have memory issues to whatever degree.
Yeah.
Okay. Functional, some are, you can tell that, there's a struggle there somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I know a player who's okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Like nothing, and then you also have that pride of players who may be going through something, but they don't want to say it. Man, I mean, this is definitely a sensitive, touchy issue because I just don't. The thing is, you're not going to eliminate head and brain trauma and just hard hits. You're not going to eliminate it at the game. No, you cannot.
Right. So it's just like, at what point do you? I think you can make it safer. I think they've done a good job with like heads up football, making sure that people are tackling better. I mean, I would often say, like, maybe we need to, and again, this is definitely not going to win me any points, but I think there needs to be a consideration of possibly eliminating youth football. I don't know if you need to take those hits that early, particularly when you're in development stage. And I think and if we're going to have youth football, I think there has to be a consideration of, making sure whoever the coaches are, and I'm not saying they have to be this or that, but if you are going to coach, then you have to get a significant amount of training to make sure that you are teaching correct techniques. And maybe there has to be some sort of, again, I hate saying this, I don't want to say registry, but I think there maybe have to be something that says, hey, like, you can't like play your season 10, 12 games and then go play travel ball and then go do this. I mean, I see kids now, it's 90 degrees. They're out there playing travel ball. And then in 2 months, they're going to go play football at their middle school or their little league. So I think maybe there needs to be a cutoff on the amount you play. It has to be something.
I'm going to say this to anybody who's playing travel ball and playing any other football anywhere else. For whatever you think you are getting athletically or skill set based by playing more, football is not more is better.
Yeah.
And you more is the worst adjective that you could put with that, because it's just not. You can teach a kid different, like footwork. You can teach him footwork without contact. You can teach him how to throw without contact. There's a ton of things. You can teach him how to block, how to use your hands to tackle, and how to use your hands to block. You can do all that without contact. You don't have to. More football. And I'll just be outright. Like, I hate travel football. Like, I hate it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. I know, like, even Signetti, coach for Indiana Hoosier, who just won the collegiate championship, I know kind of their methodology, and they don't grind guys. They don't do like a whole bunch of like practicing and hitting and different things. It's more like testing your cognitive ability, watching film, getting skills, doing stuff like that, like you're saying. So I think that, again, not to pit it on like youth athletes or parents or whatever, but I think when we talk about those, those cognitive issues, they're not starting once you get to the NFL.
No.
It's not like you just, like you okay.
Or you're waiting to college, and I need to worry about it.
It's not starting there. It's starting as soon as you strap it up. Because I can say, I believe, again, I don't have any, this is I don't have any empirical data. This is just my own conjecture. Like, I believe, some guys that, played just little league through high school, and now you can kind of look at them and tell, man, something is and there's no family history. It's just something where those guys were hitters, and the way we were taught back then. So again, I think it's something we're going to have to address early and often. And I don't know if there's probably, because even with CTE, they can't necessarily diagnose that until really after you pass, right? They can't go in there and
they
say,
know exactly now. Once you pass, the way that I understand it, after you pass, then they can actually.
Then they know for sure.
They know for sure. Okay. They know all the symptoms.
But prior to that, they can't really tell you.
Yeah, but they can't. They because it could be anything else. It could be anything.
And then when you add ALS to that, add ALS to, It's high in football players, and it's high in military personnel.
Yeah.
They can't necessarily tell you to call. So it's just like one of them things where, again, we love football, we want to play it, but maybe we need to think about kind of when we do it.
Right.
And, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would love a couple, like I'd love us to get out of the 5, 6, 7, I'd love us to get out of that, even though that's my job. I'd like us to get out of that and then just do, if you, at best, two seasons maybe of youth football,
and then go to middle school. Yeah.
And I think, and as old as the older, the better of the last 2 seasons or the first 2 seasons of football, I think would be great.
So maybe start 4th and 5th grade?
Yes, if you could do 4th and 5th grade or something like that.
And maybe do flag for the other
ones. And do flag for the other one. Yeah. And everybody knows that flag is, kids love to run around and pull the flag and all that kind of stuff. Let's take advantage of that as best we can, and allow kids to get used to being out running and all that kind of stuff. And then let's put them in the situation to where at least they're just a tad bit older and I don't want to say mature, but at least they have a better understanding of the game.
Yeah.
But you know what? And this is the sad thing about it. Because what we just said and our timeline, people will, man, that's crazy. And yes, it is crazy.
Yeah.
But it'll take something crazy in order to fix something that's that bad.
But I think people don't want to come to reality too, because what you're not going to tell me the accumulations of hits. If you've been playing football since you're 6 years old, and then you play, and God bless you, you play till you're 30, you make the NFL. You're not going to tell me 25 years of accumulations of hits. And that's saying, and think about it, if you're an offensive lineman, that's hitting every play. Defensive lineman, every play. Linebacker, you're hitting. You know what I'm saying? Running back, you're getting hit every single play.
Especially in the youth level, for sure.
There's only so many positions that you're not actually getting, like, and the thing is, when we talk about football, hockey, rugby, like, these are collision sports. It's not contact sports. So the accumulation of hits add up over time. And for every concussion that you diagnose with, you probably got 5 other ones
that you really didn't realize was a mild. Like you said, when them times when you get up and you see the stars, that's a concussion, buddy. Yes.
You got one.
If you pick a kid up, he's laying there on the turf, and you look at him, and he's just laying there. You pick him up, and he's kind of walking side to side, and you take him to the bench. And if you put him in 2-3 plays later, what you have done is you are helping this major issue
perpetuate.
Yes,
and I think, to me,
and you don't. And I want to make sure that you know it, so you won't do.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
And I think to go along with that, I think the ultimate problem that that particularly when I started to coach football, and I had a unique opportunity because I got the luxury of coaching at all levels. I've coached from little league to college. I didn't coach pro, but I coached from little league youth sports to college sports. And the thing is, I think the problem with football ultimately is that it's just too much based on winning, right? I think that, and again, I understand that because you only get so many finite games within that season. It's not like basketball, baseball, but when you take sports like basketball, baseball, soccer, because you get to play so many games, and this is just playing within your season, there's a lot of time to develop, and what counts as winning for your particular athlete is different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With football, you don't get that opportunity to have development. So I would love to see, like I said, in addition to maybe us starting contact football just a tad later, and I ain't talking about much, but just a tad later, when you're talking about having a kid that's in 4th grade and 8th grade, so 4th through 8th grade, that should all be predicated on development. Winning should be secondary. And I think for that to happen, we're going to have a cultural change where we talk about from 4th grade to 8th grade, those are strictly developmental years. We ought to be teaching during that time, and not necessarily the focus is always purely on winning.
Is that also with coaches on the field?
I'm talking coaches on the field. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coaches. I'm talking about parents. We understand that, hey, this group may not win a championship every year, but we're going to make sure that they understand how to tackle. We understand that they understand how to take care of their bodies. We're going to make sure they understand the game of football, and we're just not out there calling random plays, right? We're going to make sure that there's a high level of understanding within those developmental years. So when they go to, high school, like I said, they know how to take care of themselves. They understand the games. They understand what to do and what not to do.
I'm going to give this to you and say to you that, this could maybe be something that must be done, right? One of those kind of things that, I got something new.
Okay.
I got something new. And it came to me as you were talking. I think that before every season, I think that what you need to have is a medical doctor, a sports doctor, to sit down and have a conversation with parents, with coaches. Kids don't necessarily have to be there.
Yeah. And
needs to explain to you, because you may not hear me. You may not want to listen to me. You may think like, oh, he trying to kill football. Okay. Hollis, he doing it for whatever, I think that we need to make sure that parents understand what the actual risk is. And I'm not saying to give them the risk to not have the kid play, but to also understand what to look for.
Yeah, signs, symptoms.
Yes, what kind of symptoms when he gets home, check him out. And if there's anything that you can do that is off the field to make sure he's okay, what should he be doing after the games? I mean, there could be a whole lot of different things that I think they could ask and get an answer to, and put our kids in a safer spot. Because as long as they're in the hands of us, we just trying to play.
Yeah.
And right, wrong, and indifferent. That's just the reality of it. We want to play, we want to win. And everything else is secondary. And that can't be.
That can't be. I don't know. I don't think it can be anymore. Like, we have to figure out something different. And like I said, I don't think that's necessarily, a bad thing. I know we talked about the Samari Rowe. He's a former NFL football player. He's like a neurologist and a medical doctor, and he recently was hired by the Players Association to do something similar to what you're saying. And we discussed whether will that be effective even on that level, as far as having, he's an NFL Players Association has appointed former NFL safety and Rhodes Scholar Dr. Samari Rowe has a strategic advisor role centered on players' health, brain cognition, and preventative care. So it's something you're talking about, something like that, maybe at all levels.
Yes, I think you have to have that, and you have to have opportunities for some of these younger kids to get checked out, because they could already be in a bad spot and you don't know. I don't know, man. I just think that we're not doing enough for young kids who are playing football. Yeah. I just don't think, I think that there's a place for somebody to call the attention to sit down and say, okay, let's talk about this and see what are some of the changes that we can make into youth football, into middle school football, right, into high school, because just to be safe.
And again, to your point, man, I know you guys, NFL players, y'all going to get all the attention when it comes to these different, like diseases and different things of that nature. But I would imagine how many college football players right now, how many high school football players are like silently, I wouldn't even say silent, just don't even, like, unaware that they have some sort of issue cognitively because of the amount of hits that they've taken.
How many times would you got hit, got dizzy and all that kind of stuff, and now when you look back,
yes, I'm telling you, I could probably recall about 10 times. I know we played St. Albans High School here lately. Jason Rader, he played for Marshall, Georgia, and he went on to play for the NFL for a while. I know he hit me like once, and I was out of it. I was out. Yeah. I played the whole game. Like, now that I think back on it, I didn't realize what it was at the time, but I remember like 2 plays from that game. And I can remember other times in college where, you just took that hits. And I'm saying the way we practice, all that back then. And again, they've corrected a bunch of stuff. So I don't want to sit here and say like there's not been no corrections. But I think, to your point, in order for the game us to keep playing it, we got to start to maybe consider some other stuff. And I think to me, I think that we need to start playing later, and I think we need to focus on development for those prime years, and then we can move on to more competitive.
And I think if the WVSAC, if anybody who's listening today, just happen to be listening to us today, or somebody that's there, I would highly recommend that they create some kind of system, some kind of structure to where players get tested prior to their next season coming up, just so they're okay. We already know that they're okay, because at this point, nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
With my memory, I can forget something, and if somebody doesn't know, they just think, oh, he just forgot it. I know that no, I didn't just forget it. It's my memory. And there's a difference in that compared to, just you take a kid that's, let's say, second year in high school, and he's been playing, and maybe he's had some big hits. And we don't know what those big hits are doing. Yes, we don't know.
That's a good point.
And he's never going to get tested if he does. Because he's good. He's already good. He's up.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get tested. I just think that somewhere there has to be some tests to be included into whatever the physical is. We need that as more important than anything.
I mean, I would agree with you on that. Like, something has to be, I think in order for us to, keep football, we're going to have to change something.
We could be the first in West Virginia to start looking into it, man. Yeah. I just think we just have to. But, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. We appreciate you listening, and we will be back again next week.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Comment on episodes, ask the crew questions, or suggest topics on our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation. Subscribe by searching Let's Talk with Carl Lee on your favorite podcast service, and tune in Thursday evenings at 7 or Sunday nights at 8 for Let's Talk with Carl Lee.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet. Anything could be a win, yup, even defeat. They say sugar bad for you, why is victory sweet? Couldn't play with big kids, I had to sit.